Welcome to episode 77 of Gun Guy Radio. This is the podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challand, and this is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Well, this week we have lots of cool stuff going on. Some of you may be watching via video now. But first, I have a shout out to Chris of concealedandcarry.net. That's concealed, the letter N, carry.net. And he's in the process of building an all-in-one directory for the firearms industry. So it's going to be a place where you can find, the nearest range, the nearest gun store, where you can find, different firearms, ammo, and so on. And you can even find links to our shows on that site. So yeah, like I said, some of you are watching on video right now. So we're at the Firearms Radio Network. We're experimenting with, something I call multicasting, or have heard called multicasting, where we create one piece of content and we really focus on the content, not the platform. And so we release it on multiple platforms. We release it on podcast audio, podcast video, YouTube video, and so on. And even live shows. We did a live test run of This Week in Guns this last week, and it went very well. Even had a few people watch it, even though I didn't even advertise it, so that was cool. Shout out to you guys. So stay tuned for more on that. This week's entire Gun Guy Radio is all in video. The parts I do before and after the main topic itself, and even our new segment, which is the Gun Guy Radio Product Spotlight with our correspondent from Brownells, Josh Coburn. You may remember Josh from a few episodes ago. We interviewed him about his book, Inspiration on Demand, which is soon to be out, I believe. So, all around, big changes here at Gun Guy Radio for the better, and I'm totally stoked and excited for what we have for you in the future. More and more great interviews with firearms industry personalities, insiders, CEOs. So it's really pretty fun putting these together. And so, let's dive right into the main topic. It's an amazing interview with John, the founder and CEO of Rainier Arms. He joins us also via video, and he shared his inspirational life story and the struggles that led up to him creating this successful online AR-15 company known to you as Rainier Arms. It's my pleasure to welcome John Hwang to Gun Guy Radio. John is a successful entrepreneur and also a passionate owner of Rainier Arms and Defense Marketing Group. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thanks for coming on one of our first video podcasts as well. Audio has been our thing, but you're making this available to people on YouTube and video iPods and everything else. So really appreciate it.
Well, this is my first interview of any sort, so I'm sure it'll be a good experience for both of us.
Oh, you're joking me. You're just trying to make me feel better.
No, I'm dead serious. Yeah.
Well, John, you're the founder of Rainier Arms and Defense Marketing Group. Am I saying that right? Rainier or Rainier?
It's Rainier.
Rainier, like Mount Rainier, or
Rainier. Rainier Arms, Mount Rainier.
Well, but that's not where you started. So let's take a little trip back in time. I guess first let's tell people a brief, give people a brief overview of yourself and maybe how you got into firearms.
Sure. I don't know how far you want me to go back. I was born at 8. No. Basically, I got into firearms as a hobby, like most people, right? I started, I think, with my first pistol when I was 18, and it was a Taurus. Nothing I'm proud of now, but back then I was very proud, right? It was my first one, and got into firearms and got into AR-15s especially, and it really started out as a hobby, and what happened was I wanted to buy some guns, and I started collecting a little bit, and obviously the wife is like, why do you have so many guns? Why do you need so many guns? And I think a lot of guys can relate to that. And it got to a point where I said, you know what, honey, I'm buying these 5 and I'm going to sell 4 and I'm going to get mine for free. So this is free. And so that's how it started, back in 2004. I was a full-time, my background's with insurance, with Allstate Insurance. I used to be an agent as well as a district manager, and I ran a successful agency for about 13 years. And prior to jumping on board with Rainier Arms, or starting Rainier Arms.
Well, very interesting. Now, you're from, I'm sorry, you're actually, many people may not know that you're actually an immigrant to the United States. Can you tell people a little bit?
They couldn't tell. They couldn't tell by my face or my last name. Yeah. Basically, if you want to go a little bit further back, I came to the United States when I was 7 from South Korea, and obviously, when we came here, it's unlike a lot of immigrant stories. We were actually very wealthy in Korea. My father worked for the government, and my mom was a business owner. She owned a real estate developer, so she owned homes and sold homes and things like that. But, when we came to the United States, we left all of our possessions and all of our money behind, because back in the olden days, back in 1976, when I came over, Korea was still a developing country, and they wouldn't let you take money out of the country. And so we came to the United States with $2,000, and people would say, why would you come to the United States and when you're doing well in another country? But just to kind of give you an idea of what we have in the United States is, when you're in a third world country like South Korea back then, it's no longer third world, but when you're in a developing country, you think of America as the land of milk and honey, and this land of opportunity. And our parents wanted this opportunity for our children, for their children, for all of our kids, So that's why they decided in 1976 to come over to the United States to really benefit all of us. And so that's why we decided to come in 76. When we got here, obviously, we came from a beautiful three-story home. We had several maids, a driver, all sorts of things, to we were living in a government apartment and started with nothing. And it was a difficult time, but also when you're a child, I was 7. I didn't know any better. I thought I didn't know anything about being poor, and I just thought that's how it was, and just grew up poor, and learned a lot about business through my parents, and watching them grow and watching them work and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's right. Really your whole family were just a bunch of entrepreneurs, right? They had several different businesses.
Yeah, actually, my mom and my father started as a real estate agent, and saved up a little bit of money, and we started a flower shop in Federal Way. I was in junior high school, and around that time is when I finally got a taste of, lower middle class. Up until then, we were still very poor. And we didn't know any better to even get school provided lunches. So I would go hungry during lunchtime, and people would say, "Hey, John, you want some of my lunch?" And I was, embarrassed actually, and I would say, "No, I'm not hungry." And a lot of pride, I guess, for a little man. And so we had those types of businesses, and I think our family's claim to fame was, I don't know if you have teriyaki shops where you are, but in Washington State, teriyaki shops are huge, and they're everywhere. And if you know, almost all of them are owned by Koreans. And the backstory on that is my mom and my uncle started a donut shop, and the donut shop was doing horrible. And we thought, you know what, we should try to do something different. So why not sell teriyaki and just kind of specialize in teriyaki, and let's try that. And so we did, and we started a small restaurant called Happy Teriyaki, and we started running with that, and was very successful. And then what happened over time too was that teriyaki restaurant continued to grow, but my father was called into the ministry, and he became and he went to to be a pastor. And so we never made a lot of money with teriyaki, but that's how but my parents did have some background with business, so I understood all about long hours and working hard and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, and working hard. I read a little bit of your bio history, and it sounds like you guys kind of came upon harder times even after that.
Oh yeah, I mean we had a difficult time. My mom, when we were running the teriyaki store, and when my dad started the church, he donated money he didn't have to build the church building. Took out loans and things and started a church, and really felt a calling and to do that. And so we were supporting our church with the money from the teriyaki shop. It got to a point where we were going negative. We couldn't make enough to pay the payments, and it was very difficult. And I was right out of college at that time. I was working at an investment firm, doing pretty well, and then right at that time, my mom got cancer, and it was unfortunately it was terminal, and I was asked to help run the family business, and so I did. I quit my investment job and started flipping chicken for $1,000 a month. That's what I got paid, and I was newly married at the time. I mean, it was after we got married. It was 2 weeks later or a week later, I started working at the teriyaki shop. So I'm sure you could imagine what my wife was going through. Like, oh my God, I married this guy and now he's flipping chicken, right? So, so we did that, and it was, and that was and we were still sinking, and we thought, hey, why don't we sell this and try to open up, or buy a couple of Subway franchises? And that was our first taste into Subway franchises. It was, my dad went to Chicago or something and heard a deacon was making a fortune with Subway franchises. But anyway, we decided to do that, and we were running two. We were still losing money. We were still not positive. We were going back about a couple $1,000s a month. And anybody who knows business, if you're going back a couple $1,000s a month, that's a bad thing. And if I knew what I know now, I would know how to get out of that. But at that time, I thought the best solution is, since two isn't enough, let's open up the third one. And that was the demise of our business, because that third one, if anybody knows, a new business takes some time to get profitable. And now, instead of losing $2,000 a month, we were losing $3,000 to $5,000 a month. And it was a very short period of time after that when, we had to shut everything down. We sold what we could and got out of the business. My brother James was helping me too. He finished school and he was helping me run those Subway restaurants. He suddenly got calling from God to go into ministry, so he left, and I was stuck with at the time I was 27. I'll never forget this, because I was 27. I was newly married. I had my first son, and I was $100,000 in debt. And, to most of us, $100,000 in debt is just an insurmountable amount of money. It's just like, it was so large. I couldn't sleep. Every night I would wake up, and the best way I could describe it is it was like a tunnel with no light at the end. It was just a black tunnel, and I was starting a brand new business as an Allstate insurance agent, and it was pitch black. But that's kind of my history. So, it's not like I inherited a ton of money or, something happened or, it's just through hard work and obviously through God's blessing. All of it, I give glory to God for all of that. So it's been awesome.
But you were in that time where there was no light at the end of the tunnel. So how did it turn around?
One night when I was sleeping, I remember this pretty vividly. I was, I couldn't sleep. I kept on waking up and I got this kind of epiphany that, I live in America. What's the worst thing that they could what's the worst thing that could happen to me, right? And at that time I was getting calls, a couple times a day by creditors and you name it. And we cut everything. I mean, we didn't have cable TV. Obviously we didn't have, back then everybody was on landline. So we cut our landline. We cut everything and living on absolute bare minimum. But what I thought to myself, you know what? I'm doing my absolute best. And that's all you can do in America. What are they going to do? Arrest me? Beat me? Worst case scenario, I can file for bankruptcy even. But, and looking back, maybe I should have, but I felt like I borrowed the money and I'm going to do everything I can to pay this money back. And at that time, I had this peace, like God gave me this peace, like, you know what, John? Just live your life. You have food. You have a roof over your head. You have a beautiful wife and a new baby. Life is great. Just do your best. Everything will be okay. And so it was an amazing time in my life. And that's when I started seeing light, and life is so much better when you can see it, just a little bit of light. And I just walk towards the light, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And I guess you got out from under that $100,000 worth of debt. So tell me a little bit how you made that happen.
Yeah, it took forever. It took me 7 years, but when I started working at Allstate Insurance, I started making a little bit more money. But when you're a brand new agent, I was probably averaging about $2,000 to $3,000, not a lot of money. My wife was working at the time, but as my income was increasing, I didn't increase my expenses. I was driving around in $1,500 pieces of junk cars and all sorts of things. And then as I worked hard at my day job, I was promoted to a district manager, which paid about $100,000, and with bonuses and stuff, it came up to $120,000 to $150,000 a year, and that helped a lot, obviously. So every time we have extra money, we pay off our debt, and instead of buying nice things, we just kept on moving along. The one time I was driving this truck that was just a really rusted out Mazda B2000 or something like that. And I was taking my son to school and I was driving him, and he was in, I think, first grade or kindergarten. And I think I bought that car for like $1,600 or something. It was really a piece of junk. And but I didn't care. I'm trying to save money and pay down debts. I'm driving around in this car and I'm dropping him off. And he's like, "Dad, do you mind if you drop me off?" And we were still about 2 blocks away from school, right? And I finally realized that, man, I'm really embarrassing my son. And so I upgraded to a $3,500 truck, and it was much better. But, just living below your means, that doesn't mean you're always going to be poor, but it's called, we call it delayed gratification. You do the little things now so you can have a much greater life later. And so it's one of the lessons that I learned going through some of those hardships.
Like Dave Ramsey says, live That's like right. No one else now so you can live like no one else later.
Absolutely.
Well, and at some point you got the black rifle disease, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously I'm on I'm on your show, which I'm sure most listeners don't care about my background as much as they want to hear about the guns and how I got into the guns and how I made Rainier Arms. So, it really started, like I said, from a hobby and seeing a need. When I was out there, I wanted rifles, but I didn't have money to buy additional rifles. And I thought, how can I get rifles that I really want? And what's a good way to do it? And so I thought, why not? And when I called these manufacturers, I was shocked at how little the buy-in was to buy things. And they said, yeah, you just need a firearms license. And so our industry, there's some good and bad. The good is that anybody can become a firearms dealer, right? And so that's good, and it's a tremendous opportunity for everybody. But the bad is, because this is such a passion for everybody, we have so many firearm dealers coming in and coming out of the business, and sometimes that kind of hurts the rest of us, and it really hurts our margins and all of that. But back to my story, so that's how it started. It came from greed of wanting more firearms, and my wife not letting me have them. And it got to a certain point where I started growing that part of the business, as when I had these and I was selling it mainly on AR15.com at the time. People would ask me, "Hey, John, I noticed you have that Rock River Arms or Stag, blah blah blah, but do you have this gun?" And I would say, "No, I don't have that, but I can get it for you." And so, I would make sure that they commit to buying it from me, and then I'd go out and try to see how many of those I needed to buy in order to get dealer pricing, and so on and so forth. So it really started growing from there. And it wasn't, I started out and probably in '04 or '05. I did it kind of like this as a hobby for about a year and a half, something like that. And I really loved it, because this industry, and a lot of people who don't understand the firearms industry, they don't understand how wonderful the people are, right? I mean, they're typically very conservative. They're honest people. They're good people. In all the years I've done business, I think I've had 1 or 2 bounce checks in my life. I mean, it's just can tell you the quality of the people in the firearms business. And so I just loved it. I mean, coming from the insurance background where, you get a whole cross section of America. And when you're dealing with Allstate, we're considered a preferred company. So we deal with higher end customers per se. But even then, I was dealing with negativity all day long. And to come to this industry where people are talking about fun and hobbies and things that they enjoy doing, shooting with their kids and going out on weekends and building things, man, it was awesome. I was hooked, And once I got into the industry and learned the people, I was really hooked, But obviously, it wasn't easy starting out. At that point, I still didn't have any money. I was just barely breaking even with paying down all my debt and all of those things. And the only thing I had was a little bit of equity in my home. And at that time, I decided to take out $100,000 of equity in my home and start Rainier Arms. And that's when Rainier Arms started. Started out of the basement of my home. I had I still remember, after I spent $100,000 and looking over, it didn't fill one wall. I mean, it was just like, a couple of bins and a few things. And I was like, that's $100,000? Oh my goodness, it's so little, But that's how Rainier Arms started. And initially, how I built the business, it was all online. I would meet people. If they needed to meet me locally, I would meet people in parking lots, to meet people at my, Allstate insurance business, to all sorts of things. And people still come up to me now at my shop and they go, "Hey, I remember you, you sold me, a whatever gun at this parking lot, or you sold me such and such a gun at your Allstate office, And so I know those customers are my long-term, true, loyal customers. So I appreciate them very, very much. So that's kind of the history of how it started. Yeah.
I guess at some point, maybe too many people were coming over to the house, and your wife had enough.
Well, yeah, Jacob, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what happened. What happened was it started in one basement room that was maybe about 150 square feet or something like that. Eventually, all the parts started filling up into that room, and then you start filling into the hallway and into the garage, and all of that was even okay. But what happened was, even though I didn't put my address online anywhere, my address was on the FFL, and somehow they found me. And we had some strangers come visit, at 8 o'clock at night, and I didn't mind because I like firearms people and I know they're good people and all that. But my wife freaked out. She was like, "Oh my God, what's happening here?" You know, and she kicked me out. So I mean, not literally kicked me out, but kicked my business out. She said, "You got to do something." And I rented just a warehouse because it was mainly online. So I rented a small warehouse that was about 1,200 square feet. And I started out my business with a good a church friend of mine at the time. His name's David Song, and he's no longer with us. But he and I started Rainier Arms back in, I think that was probably '05 or '06 when I got kicked out of my house and started officially, you know, in my warehouse.
Well, and it just kept growing and growing, and I don't think there's many people that don't know the name nowadays. And would you feel comfortable sharing some of your success now?
Oh, absolutely. The one thing I will say is that, so many people are hesitant to call and ask questions. They're like, well, I was hesitant to call you and I wasn't sure if I should ask you this. But I really believe that I'm my only competition. And I don't mean that in a conceited way or a cocky way, but so many people worry about what everybody else is doing, like so-and-so stealing my business or so-and-so is taking into my business. But I know for a fact that if I do the best job I can and treat our customers the way they deserve to be treated, and I'm doing everything I can, whether it be products or whether it be service, whatever it is, but if I'm doing the best I can, I'm going to grow Rainier Arms. And so I absolutely have no problem sharing that. Just to give you a history, I think everybody in the gun industry understands or knows the famous Stickman. And how I met Stickman is a friend of mine named Dan bought a used pistol from me at a parking lot, at a restaurant parking lot. And he said, "Hey, John, I know you have this, you're starting this business, and I have a friend who takes some photos. I should hook you up." And so when I met Stick, he might not want me to share this, but he only had like one rifle, and it was a Olympic Arms of all things. And he was shooting pictures with a Olympus point and shoot. But I saw that he had this eye for taking pictures, and he just did an amazing job. And so I wish I can take all the credit for the success that I've had, but I've had a tremendous amount of help. People like Stickman, who's been with me from the very beginning, promoting me, taking pictures for me, doing lots of those types of things. And he's still part of our team, doing a lot of things for Defense Marketing Group, as well as my employees who are like my family. And even when I was nothing, I told them, hey, someday I want you guys to be the highest paid people in the industry. And I want to make sure that you guys have lots of opportunity here. And I couldn't really promise anything because I didn't have anything. But that was my vision then. That's my vision today. And because of those things, I know those are part of the reasons why I've had some success.
Well, it sounds like you have a great company culture there that you built from the ground floor. I'm a big fan of company culture. They talked about an episode or two ago how I read the Tony Hsieh book on Zappos, Delivering Happiness. And
yeah, great book.
It sounds like you've instilled that same great culture within Rainier Arms, which I'm sure is a big reason why you guys are so successful.
Well, I mean, I don't say this lightly, but, what happens is all of our customers end up doing majority of the heavy lifting nowadays. For example, if somebody has a bad experience, nobody's perfect, right? Rainier Arms isn't perfect. There's things that we slip and we make a mistake. The key thing is we try not to dig a hole in the sand and bury our head in there. We really try to find out, hey, how can we solve this problem, and what can we do to the best of our ability? But because we try to treat our customers that way, our customers now battle for us. So if there's ever a problem on a forum or somewhere online, you'll see, 5, 6, 7, 10 other posts of Rainier customers going, oh, they're nothing but great customer service. Just give them a call. They'll take care of you. So they're our ambassadors, right? And so it makes my job so much easier. I mean, literally, they call us and we take care of it, and everything gets squashed. Whereas when you're a brand new guy, you get one negative comment, then your business is like, oh my goodness, what do I do? What do I do? But now we have ambassadors that just really just talk us up. And actually, when I read it, I'm like, man, they make us sound much better than we actually are, you know. And we strive to be the best, but they sometimes make us sound so amazing. So I am so thankful to our customers, and you know, a lot of our growth has been because of that.
Okay, now you're a gun company, I guess, or mainly focused on black rifles, and so you got to tell me what kinds of fun things go on in the background. Do you have, you know, bring your AR-15 to work day, or?
No, you know, for the most part, we don't have, like, the guys who are working with us. A lot of them don't come from a firearms industry. Some, you know, half of them do, half of them don't. And so we have a big mixture of a lot of different things. And I don't know if it's because I'm such a fatty or what, but what they like to do, they just love to eat. I don't know if you've ever checked out our Instagram things, but it's always about food, and they're always barbecuing something, you know, and like almost every Friday or something, they'll have steaks out there. They'll have, you know, Mexican stuff out there, hot dog, whatever it is, they're grilling something, and they never invite me. I don't know what that's all about, man. But I get the bill, you know, but so it's always surrounded around food. You know, we do that kind of stuff, and we're trying to add more fun things to our culture, but haven't really done anything exciting. I wish I can say, you know, I've taken them all out and went skydiving or something cool like that, but we haven't done any of that kind of stuff yet. The only other kind of fun things we do is like we'll go out to the, you know, those little mini go-kart things and lap around the go-kart.
Nice.
Yeah. So far, Paul's the champion. He's my brother. He's the champion. I'm in second place, and everybody else is distant third, you know, so. Either they stay back on purpose, or I don't know. I don't know what it is, but yeah. So we like to have fun, but obviously, you know, the thing that makes it really cool is really they're like family. You know, we have a nice lunchroom back there, and they're just hanging out and having lunch. And unlike the one thing too is when it's slow, they're talking and having a good time. And sometimes, you know, other guys are saying, God, you know, why don't you tell them to get back to work, or why don't you do this or that? But, you know, in the firearms business, it's not like we're paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to pack boxes and things, right? And I want them to understand I appreciate them. I want them to understand how much they're needed here. And when push comes to shove, they're working till 8, 9, 10 at night, getting packages out. And so I want to show them that, hey, you know, you're not under a thumb. You can do as you please. I know they're always looking out for Rainier, just like I look out for them. And it's a good partnership, a win-win, as I always like to put it. So it works out nice.
Well, okay, so no, bring your AR-15 to work day, but I gotta say, grilling some tasty meat on a grill is a close second to that for me. So.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. We go shooting. We have classes, you know, and we had it's been a little while now, but we just had a carbine course done, all Rainier Arms guys, you know, and they're running through the courses, and obviously almost everything paid for by Rainier. So it was a good time. They love it, and so. But I don't want it to be only guns. You know what I mean? It's life. Life is more important than just only guns. Don't shoot me. But, you know, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's funny, you know, this culture, because the gun guys, sometimes they're so into guns. Like, you know, there was a big thing. I'm sure you're familiar with the whole recoil incident. But when that happened, there were people, because we like to remain silent whenever there's negative stuff. Me personally, and me as a company, I don't like to say anything negative. If you have nothing nice to say, just keep your mouth shut, right? And that was a stance that I told everybody to take. I said, just be quiet, don't say anything. But because we were silent, we were getting accused of lots of different things, and it was a very, very difficult time. But the one thing I know is that, you know, when things like that come up, sometimes you have to use common sense, right? I mean, why would a black rifle company, all we do is sell AR-15s, why would Rainier Arms be opposed to the Second Amendment? Does that make any sense to you at all? I mean, any village idiot would say, no, that doesn't make any sense. This is my livelihood, right? I mean, this might be your hobby, but this is what pays my bills. This is what feeds my family. This is what keeps the roof over my head. So if you're telling me that we're not passionate about it, it's ridiculous, right? But at the same time, we don't want to make everything that we do surrounded by only guns. And sometimes in our culture, that is the one thing is we have the extremists, right? That it's all about guns and that's all they know. And it makes the rest of us normal gun people look a little weird, quite frankly. And that's the only part of the gun industry I don't like is the you know, I don't know what you call them, but the weirdos out there that are just so, you know, militia crazy or whatever you want to call it, that it makes average people like, you know, into something we're not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's one of my goals to help change that as well. So.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Well, anything new and exciting coming up for Rainier Arms?
We're constantly, you know, trying to develop obviously new products, but the biggest challenge for us is trying to lock down supply chains. But obviously we have some new products that we're working on right now, new rifles and new different configurations. And in the past, Rainier Arms mainly was a reseller of other people's products. But one of the things that we're really trying to focus more and more on is developing our own line of products. And what we're not trying to do is we don't necessarily want to duplicate what everybody else is doing. We're not so much into mil spec. I think mil spec is great, but I think that's also kind of the minimum standard. I think mil spec, if people truly understood what mil spec was, it's we can build rifles much better than that, and that's what we're striving to do. We're striving to build more accurate rifles, more aesthetically pleasing rifles with more function. Lots of different things. So we're constantly thinking and evolving things like that. And, you know, we're lucky to be a part of that. The other thing, too, is that in the olden days, I was always online, searching and trying to look for new companies and new products to bring on to Rainier. And now we have a whole, you know, I shouldn't say whole team, but we have several guys who do that with me. So I'm not alone. So we're always finding new products to carry on Rainier Arms. And then the other thing, too, is that because Rainier Arms has become a relatively well-known name in the industry, a lot of companies call us. So they're like, hey, we got this new product. I want to send it to you. Take a look at it, and will you carry it? So finding new products on Rainier Arms, that's how we built the foundation of Rainier Arms, and that won't change, meaning we know what we're good at. What we've always been good at is bringing new products out, new innovative, fun products out that other companies are bringing in, and we'll continue to do that. And so we're constantly seeking unknown companies that maybe nobody has heard of, and we'll bring in new uppers, new lowers, new bolt carrier groups, new sights, etc. So if you're a new company and you have an amazing product, make sure to contact us, because we definitely will look at it. And if it fits and the pricing's right, we'll certainly pick it up and sell a ton of it for you, because that's what we do.
Well, that's awesome. So what's the best way for a new company to contact you?
Just sales at rainierarms.com. We have about 3 guys who answer the technical questions on Rainier Arms, and any of those types of product things, they'll start the dialogue first. And if they think, hey John, this product's awesome, and it happens all the time. They'll come to me and say, hey John, I've been talking to such and such company, and they have this amazing product. I want us to pick some up. And I say, let's do it. And and next thing you know, it's on our website, and then we're promoting it and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, that's awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your entrepreneurial story. If there was one piece of advice to give someone who is thinking about starting their own venture, what would that be?
One advice.
Or a couple.
Okay. Well, I would say what stops most people from starting anything is fear. And people will say, well, it could be lack of knowledge, lack of time, lack of money. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, it's lack of fear. Starting any venture, whether it's guns or whether it's, any other business that you might be doing. And the thing you have to think about is, if I can guarantee success, meaning if you couldn't fail, and I posted this the other day on my Facebook page, but if you couldn't fail, would the lack of money stop you? I would say no. You'd probably find money somehow if you knew you couldn't fail. Or how about, if you couldn't fail, could you find extra time? Would you make time for it? Absolutely. So all the other excuses go away. And so what I would encourage people to do is, the key thing is challenging that fear of a failure head on, because quite honestly, you're gonna fail, and it's okay. And you want to fail. It's all part of the journey. Like, if I didn't fail early on in my in my restaurant business, I wouldn't have known about keeping my expenses extremely low. And like I explained to you earlier about the church, because if we didn't have that loan payment to the bank for the church, we wouldn't have went under, because we could have managed our expenses. But because we borrowed money and our expenses were high, you need so much income in order for you to pay that, right? So I learned early on that you need to keep your expenses low. And also, the second thing I learned was new businesses take time to develop. It takes time to make money. And so without having that failed business, I wouldn't have learned all those things that I know today. So even when I started Rainier Arms, I was working full time at Allstate Insurance. And it wasn't until, and I worked Rainier Arms all night long. So after I was done at 6, I would come home and pack packages until midnight, 1 o'clock, etc., answering emails during the day, all sorts of things. Monday through Sunday, really, other than worship time on Sunday, right? So I did all of that, and I continued to do that until my income from Rainier Arms was about double of what my insurance business was. That's when I let my insurance business go and decided to work Rainier Arms, because I knew even if I took half of that profit, I would still have the other half to continue to grow my business. So most people don't understand that. Most people have a little bit of taste of success, and what do you see? You see this gigantic F-350 with all the cool logos, and oh, look at my cool tactical truck. Yeah, that's great. I mean, they're not going to be able to grow their business because they don't have anything to reinvest, and because their expenses are high, chances are they're not going to be in business. So these are all things that you're going to learn over time. But the key thing I would say is, number one, find a mentor. Find somebody who's done it. Whatever industry you want to get into, there's somebody who's done it. Somebody who's successful in it. Find that mentor. Number two, read lots and lots of books. Books and the people you associate with will really determine who you're going to be in the next 5 years. And lastly, I go back to, you're going to be scared. It's okay. Just go do it. Make some mistakes. That's part of the whole learning process. And so if I can encourage people, anything, is that go and fail. It's okay. You're going to fail. But the key thing is, you're not a failure as long as you get back up, right? And that's the key. After you fail, get back up and go hit it again. Go hit it again. Go hit it again. And sooner or later, you're going to have great success. So I'm sorry for the long ending there, but hopefully I got enough stuff out that I wanted to say.
No, that was amazing. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that again myself. I'm proud to say that I'm driving a 96 Suburban that looks more pink or purple than it does dark blue. So.
Well, here's the other thing, too, is when I also share that, some people think, well, John just wants me to have junk. No, that's not necessarily true. If you can afford it, right? I mean, if you can buy it with cash and you got money in the bank and all, buy it. You deserve it. Go do it. But what I hear so many times in America is that you work hard, you deserve that nice car. You work hard, you deserve that nice truck. No, you deserve it when you have money, and you can really afford it when you have money, not that you can barely make the minimum payment for 84 months, So, I know I stepped on some toes there, and I know I stepped on some feelings there, but really, I think that's the problem in our culture today, and we need to really get around that for us to have a brighter future. I know our forefathers and their parents, our grandparents, they didn't live like that, and I'm sure they wouldn't want us to live like that either, and that's part of the problem why America's in its current state, right? So,
right. No, that's great. Great insight there, John. Thank you so much for sharing. I guess you have an entrepreneurial Facebook page if people want to follow you there and where they can gain more insight on these principles.
Yeah, I do. I don't even know what it's called. It's called John Hwang. My name, John Hwang, Hwang, then entrepreneur, hyphen entrepreneur. I don't know if you're going to be able to find it because it's not very big. And
I'll link it up in the show notes.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, the one thing is when I created that, this has nothing to do with anything, meaning I don't make one penny off of this. And just so you understand my mindset is that I feel that God has blessed me so immensely that in this season of my life, I want to be able to give back. And one of the ways I want to give back is to help people with business, help people with encouraging words, things like that. And I really do want to spend a big portion of this season of my life giving back, and that's one of the ways I'm doing it. So if you follow the page, there's lots of days I don't share anything because I'm on vacation or I'm busy or whatever, but I will post things that I'm very passionate about and share some vacation photos and all that kind of stuff with you guys to encourage me to, and keep myself also accountable to live the life that I'm preaching. So.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you, John, so much for coming on Gun Guy Radio. And you can find Rainier Arms at Rainier.com. Is that right?
RainierArms.com. Got
to put the arms in. Okay.
Yep, RainierArms.com. And my marketing page at DefenseMK.com. And obviously I'm not here to plug that. I really appreciate you having me on the show. And it was my first interview, so I'm sure I was really long-winded and boring, but I really appreciate the time.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your backstory and getting personal, but I think it's going to really encourage a lot of people to step out on their own with their own dreams and businesses. So thank you so much, and we'll have to have you on again to talk just guns next time, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably what your listeners would want, is just talking about guns and all the cool stuff that we're doing. But so maybe next time we can do that.
Well, thank you so much.
No problem. Take care.
Well, that was an awesome, inspiring story. Just can't wait to listen to that again myself. I have big thanks going out to Duluth Trading Company. So they've been pretty much Gun Guy Radio's clothing sponsor. They've have furnished me with several articles of clothing, and recently I updated them on, because several of you guys have wrote to me and said thank you for pointing me on to Duluth Trading Company. I've ordered their stuff and it's awesome. I would have never found it without Gun Guy Radio. So, great people at Duluth. They, I said, it's pretty hot, and I actually lost 20 pounds recently due to the Fat to Fit challenge. And so they sent me 3 more shirts, lightweight summer, short sleeve shirts. But I'm really digging them. They're 2 of them are the Cool Plus short sleeve button up shirts. The one I'm wearing right now is actually an Armachillo shirt, which is also a button up short sleeve shirt with front pockets. Both of them have front pockets that are Velcro flaps down. They both have hidden pin sleeves in the front pocket, so you can slide a pin in there without opening it. They both have the armpit gussets, and they both have the mesh on the back. You're probably familiar. There's a lot of shirts nowadays, but it has airflow right there on your back, so you don't get all sweaty. But I'm really enjoying them. I've had other hot weather, lightweight shirts like these before, but these are by far the best I've had to date. The Cool Plus, it's also ripstop. Now, if you watch this video, you notice that I'm wearing 3 different shirts because I recorded it 3 different days, so it's all spliced together. So you can see these are the 3 different new shirts they sent my way, and I love the ripstop. It's just durable as heck, and I kind of like the rough texture to it. I'm a little weird like that. But and the other thing I like about the Cool Plus ripstop is that it has a hidden zippered Napoleon pocket where the Armachillo does not. But the Armachillo is lighter than the Cool Plus, so it just kind of depends on what you like. And the Armachillo has made in the fabric jade technology that makes your shirt feel cool to the touch. Which today, a couple times, I thought my shirt was wet because it was kind of cooler. So I wonder if that's what's going on. It wasn't wet. And the Armachillo also wicks moisture away. I don't think the Cool Plus necessarily does that. But either way, you can't go wrong. You can find a special link to Duluth Trading Company on the right-hand column on Gun Guy Radio. And follow that, and you can look up these shirts. If you order something, please send them an email thanking them and tell them that you heard it here on Gun Guy Radio. Welcome to the Gun Guy Radio Product Spotlight, and we have Josh Coburn, our correspondent from Brownells, on the line. Hey, Josh.
Good afternoon.
Well, we're talking about AR-15 magazines this week. No one's looking for those.
We got a few of them sitting around here if anybody's looking. We'll be talking about the Brownells AR-15 M16 20 and 30 round mags. To kind of give you a brief history about these, we were looking at really developing a quality mag for our men and women of the military. And, of course, we all have family in the military, somebody close. Maybe it's distant, but really it was about reliability for us. So in 2004, we started working on the project and started selling them to the public in November of that year. The first contract was awarded to us in 2005. We started delivering in 2006. And we delivered just over 300,000 of them at that time. Second contract was for $1.4 million, and that contained the new follower and spring design. And which, in the beginning, we can talk a little bit about the testing, but in the beginning, it caused a bit of issues. But it's a requirement to be 100% issue free, and as long as you have 0 malfunctions, you're kind of good to go with TACOM and to initiate the 100% clause, which basically gives clearance to go through the full contract, which we did $2.8 million over 2 years, and fulfilled 2 TACOM contracts. Geez, tongue twister there, holy cow! For a total of over, the notes say, 3.1 million magazines delivered on time, with that's 0 magazine live fire stoppages. So the mags are pretty quality. I'm sure you guys are familiar, at least somewhat, as most refer to them as GI mags, as we had talked off air.
Yeah, I've got 2 here, actually. Now they come with 2 different kinds of springs, stainless spring option or the chrome silicone option.
Right, absolutely. The chrome silicon's a nice option simply because it's got a bit more, I guess, durability to it. It doesn't set if you keep it loaded and sitting around the house, like most of us do if you're going to load it up and put it in the safe, along with hopefully your 50 other mags. It doesn't set, so you're not stuck unloading them every other month to make sure that spring isn't weak and isn't going to load properly or chamber properly when you're using it. The nice thing, too, about the chrome silicon is it doesn't rust. And the coating on it's rated for over, 500 hours in a salt spray test tank. So this thing's definitely pretty durable as far as that goes. And the mag body itself is heat treated to T6 hard anodized and then dipped in a gray lubricating finish as well.
Now, what's different about these? One is, the two different kinds of springs, but they look identical. Besides that, or is it just the springs?
Yeah, absolutely. It is just the springs. Follower's the same. Everything else is the same. Changing the follower would really take a lot of work. We'd have to change out the the batteries. No mag batteries. What am I talking about? The bodies. Which, really there's a lot that goes into the manufacture of these. And it's crazy too, because a lot of people assume this isn't a Brownells product, but this, I can assure you, is a Brownells product. We're not only a distributor, but we have been making and supplying tons of other products for years and years. And Brownells, the manufacturer, is definitely alive and well. We're happy to put these out, and we'll be talking a little later in a few episodes about some other tools that'll be coming out as well. Pretty interesting stuff for sure.
So did we say they come in both 20 and 30 round configurations?
I don't know that I mentioned it, but they are available in both configurations, and you can get them in like 25 packs, 100 packs, so you can get them all one shot if you want.
Well, that's what I like about Brownells, is that you can get all your magazines at once, and it's pretty cool to have a box show up with 20 mags in it.
Well, 20 mags for your AR. Don't forget you got to get some stuff for your AK, some mags for your Glock. Everybody's got something extra laying around. That's the great thing is I guess through Brownells you can get a hold of really pretty much anything you need to keep things running, mags included. So, but something I did want to mention real quick is obviously we deal a lot with military, and some of these were military contract mags, and of course, take note, the civilian models are slightly varied from the military models. But just to be straight about it, we do get some really cool stories from our soldiers out there, and a recent, I guess not so recent, we got a plaque a while ago. We just are getting ready to put it back out. We pulled it down for some remodel internally here, but this plaque had pretty much a destroyed magazine that a gentleman had in his rig on his chest, and it got a bunch of flack from battle, and it's pretty amazing to see something. It really makes reality set in for us who are here at home enjoying our freedoms while people are out there protecting it for us.
Well, that's pretty cool that you guys are making 100% reliable mags for our men and women in service. And it's is it true that every military mag is function tested before packing?
Yep, every single one of them has to be with zero malfunctions. That's a huge deal. Everything has to be 100% reliable, zero malfunctions, and we go through a ton of testing for everything. And actually, just a moment, I'll grab my note here. I might be able to give a little bit more insight into that, maybe not, but yeah. Don't
want you to say anything that's going to get the.
It's true.
Thrown into Gitmo or anything.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of things I can't talk about when it comes to that, so that's why I'm kind of consulting things here. But what I can tell you is, there was every magazine goes through a 9-point inspection process during the manufacturing, and then they're fully function tested before packaging. So they're definitely put through all the tests. And as I mentioned, I think earlier, maybe I didn't, I apologize if not, but the spring and follower went through a design change early on to increase the reliability on the battlefield as well. So there's been slight changes made, which again resulted in some issues initially in testing, but again, now 100% all good.
Well, that's awesome. And if people want to find these Brownells GI mags, or what's the official name? AR-15?
Yeah, the official name is the Brownells AR-15 M16 20 or 30 round mag. Pretty straightforward.
All right. Well, you can check out the GunGuyRadio.com/spotlight to find direct links to each of these mags, and even that big 10 magazine kit or 20 magazine kit. You can
yeah, you can get them in 10 packs, 20 packs, 25 packs, I think, and I think you can even get them on 100, if I remember right.
Nice.
Regardless, you can just call us and say, hey, I want 1, 10, 25, 30, whatever you want. You can let us know.
Well, here's my plan. As soon as I get a DeLorean, I'm going to go back. I'm going to buy a bunch now, go back about 6 months, and then then I'll be a millionaire.
Right. Well, that's one thing that, I guess you could have raised the prices. A few people did that, and then you could have brought it in for sure. Well, or were you talking you're just going to buy 1 million of them? And
I was going to buy 1 million, go back in time, sell them myself on eBay or wherever I can sell them. Gotcha.
Yeah. You can definitely do that. If you get a hold of that DeLorean, let me know. I got a few other places I'd like to go. But through that whole thing, I mean, we were a little bit out of stock like everyone else. But
well, these mags, this is a testament to Brownells. These mags I ordered during the peak of the magazine run, and I only paid, I think, $13, something like that each.
Right, yeah, we kept them at the standard price. We didn't change anything, and we may not have been in stock, but it takes some time to retool and get them in. But we honored all the orders that came through, and the price was exactly the same. They remain the same now as they did quite some time ago, and we're not going to change depending on the market. We're 100% satisfaction guaranteed. We do our best to stand by that all the time.
Well, I can't tell you how much me, the consumer, appreciates that. And thank you, Josh, for sharing the story of the Brownells GI mags. And we'll see you next week.
Perfect. My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
So we're to the the Brownells weekly giveaway. So we announced last week that we were giving away the Brownells Signature Series pink pistol bag. Yes, here it is for you on video. You can always check the show notes if you're listening on audio, and we have links to most everything we talk about. But this is a very high. This is one of the highest quality range bags out there, and it's in a color pink for anyone who prefers that color. So be a great gift for the missus, or if you're a guy that likes pink. Either way, and it's a good size too, so you could fit your ammo, your hearing protection, your pistol, and everything else in there. So it's a good choice all around. So I drew a name randomly, and how you get entered into this weekly giveaway is by going to gunguyradio.com, and then in the upper right hand column you'll see subscribe to our email newsletter, and everyone that is subscribed to the Gun Guy Radio email newsletter is automatically entered for these. So go ahead and go there, subscribe, and you'll be entered for life. And you can actually enter up to or you can enter and you'll be entered for life is what I'm trying to say. So you don't have to re-enter. You're just in the running. You can win once a month. And this week we drew a name randomly, and drum roll, please. And the winner is Charlie Rowan Fans. Sorry, Charlie. You guys know I'm terrible with names. But congrats, Charlie. You won the pink bag. So, the Brownells Deluxe Series pistol bag that happens to be the color pink. I already sent Charlie an email, but in case you didn't get it, Charlie, let me know, and I'll send that out to you. So next week's giveaway, we are giving away, let's see here, not one, but 2 Brownells $10 gift cards. That's right. 2 Brownells $10 gift cards for one lucky person that is subscribed to the Gun Guy Radio email list. So we'll, draw a name randomly next week, and for the next, I have enough for these for the next 10 weeks or so, I think, at least. So, get signed up. You can get absolutely whatever you want at Brownells for free. Well, that about rounds it up this week. So, again, a big thank you to Duluth Trading Company for supporting Gun Guy Radio. If you want some cool weather shirts, go over to gunguyradio.com and click that Duluth Trading Company logo in the right-hand column. And also a shout-out and special thank you to Ryan Cross, Hunter of Design. He does all the artwork for the Firearms Radio Network. Just master graphics designer, some of the best stuff. He even does whole websites and everything else. So, just go to the show notes here and you can click directly through to Hunter of Design. I believe it's hunterofdesign.com. And you can send your feedback to Jake at gunguyradio.com. And you can also still record a voicemail message, even though no one ever does. You can record it using the SpeakPipe plugin on the right-hand side of gunguyradio.com. Love to get some feedback and play it on the show. And like I said before, all the listener feedback, we're going to do special listener feedback shows, and we might actually do those on a Google Hangout and do those live too. I'll bring maybe Steve, Hank, Mike, Zach, any of those guys I might bring on. And don't forget, please leave us an iTunes review. It really helps us out, or give us a thumbs up on, Google Plus or YouTube, I guess. And also, follow us on Facebook, and you can find us at gunguyradio.com for the show notes and all the links we talked about or may have talked about on this show. And remember, join the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation, because they're fighting for our rights. Well, thanks for listening to this, one of these first video podcasts, and listening to this podcast as well. Our heart and soul lies in the audio format, but we're not afraid to dive into video as well. We know there's people that have preferences either way. So thanks for listening this week, and I'll see you next week.